Hello dear students, you are welcome in this video. Dear students, we are covering the previous year question papers, and as you know that there are 15 days remained to the examination of NET, and we are covering so many multiple choice questions so that you can revise your study. In this video we are going to have 25 questions, and you see that we have covered so far as 50 questions on the same, and here we have 51 to 75 multiple choice questions, and this is from July 16, paper number 3rd. So let's start here. Before that, you can do one thing to check your study or the answers you have given to this MCQs. For example, there is question number 1, and before question number 1, just write down the option which is you think is correct. In the same way, you can have more questions and their answers, and at the end you can calculate your scores from how many questions you solved correctly, and so that you will understand your study. So let's have very first question number 51, and here in his defense of poesy, what is the best and most accomplished kind of poetry in Sidney's estimation? Options are number 1, heroical or epic poetry, number 2, lyric poetry, number 3, pastoral poetry, and number 4, elegiac poetry. So write down the correct option which you think, and the correct option is number 1, heroical or epic poetry is the important poetry for best or most accomplished kind of poetry for Sidney. Question number 52, which writer of the Romantic period makes the following comment? Here we have a comment: the poet is far from dealing only with these subtle and analogical truths. Truth of every kind belongs to him, provided it can bud into any kind of beauty or is capable of being illustrated and impressed by poetic faculty. Options are number 1, Wordsworth in Preface to the Lyrical Ballads, number 2, William Hazlitt in On the Feeling of Immortality in Youth, number 3, Leigh Hunt in What is Poetry, and number 4, Keats in one of his letters to his brother. And the correct option is number 3. The comment appears in Leigh Hunt in What is Poetry. Question number 53, in his poem Whispers of Immortality, T.S. Eliot says that a dramatist was much possessed by death and saw the skull beneath the skin, and a poet knew the anguish of the marrow. Who are the dramatist and the poet referred to by Eliot? Number 1, Christopher Marlowe and Andrew Marvell, number 2, John Webster and John Donne, number 3, Seneca and Homer, and number 4, Thomas Kidd and Henry Vaughan. And the correct option is number 2, John Webster and John Donne. Question number 54, functional communicative approach in English language teaching is in opposition to number 1, structural approach, number 2, comprehensive approach, number 3, translation and grammar method, and number 4, functional approach. And the correct option is you see number 1, structural approach is opposition to communicative approach. 55, according to Julia Kristeva, it is the eruption of the dash within the dash that provides the creative and innovative impulse of modern poetic language. Number 1, individual, tradition, number 2, specific, generic, number 3, semiotic, symbolic, and number 4, particular, general. And the correct option is number 3, semiotic and symbolic. 56, in Crime and Punishment, which character speaks the following words? Who or what are they addressed to? I waited for you impatiently. All this blasted psychology is a double-edged weapon. Options are number 1, Vidrigallo to the pistol with which he shoots himself, number 2, Catherine Ivanova to Marmelado, number 3, Porfiry Petrovich to Raskolnikov, number 4, Raskolnikov to the Bible he finds in the prison cell in Siberia. And the correct option is number 3, Porfiry Petrovich to Raskolnikov. 57, what 3 Germanic tribes invaded Britain in the 5th century Anno Domini, bringing with them the roots of the modern English? Number 1, the Danes, Saxons and Celts, number 2, the Celts, Jutes and Saxons, number 3, the Saxons, Danes and Angles, number 4, the Jutes, Angles and Saxons. And the correct option is number 4, the Jutes, Angles and Saxons. 58, which of the following is not a part of the series of poems called Jejuri written by Arun Kolatkar? Number 1, Yashwantrao, number 2, Chaitanya, number 3, The Priest, and number 4, An Old Man. And the correct option is number 4, An Old Man. 59, Bertolt Brecht's concept of alienation was a rejection of the idea that realism was the only mode of art a critique of capitalist society should produce. Alienation is best described as number 1, making the audience feel that they do not belong. Number 2, distancing artist conventions to prevent an emotional catharsis. Number 3, scripting unnatural behavior on stage. And number 4, a rejection of capitalism or the market. And the correct option is number 2, distancing artistic conventions to prevent an emotional catharsis. 60, Ngugi wa Thiong'o changed the medium of his writing from English to dash. Number 1, Swahili. Number 2, Yoruba. Number 3, Hausa. And number 4, Gikuyu. And the correct option is Gikuyu. 61, which of the following ancient critics does Alexander Pope commend as exemplary in Essay on Criticism? Number 1, Aristotle, Quintilian, Dryden, Dionysius, Horace. Number 2, Aristotle, Longinus, Quintilian, Dufay, Dryden. Number 3, Aristotle, Horace, Dionysius, Quintilian, Longinus. Number 4, Aristotle, Horace, Dufay, Quintilian, Longinus. And the correct option is number 3, Aristotle, Horace, Dionysius, Quintilian and Longinus. 62, which of the following poems by Philip Larkin is best described as a self-elegy anticipating the poet's death? Number 1, The Old Fools. Number 2, Obed. Number 3, Ambulances. And number 4, Faith Healing. And the correct option is number 2, Obed. 63, in John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, what is the first obstacle encountered by a Christian on his progress? Number 1, the Slough of Despond. Number 2, Vanity Fair. Number 3, River of Death. And number 4, the Swamp of Despair. And the correct option is number 1, the Slough of Despond. 64, identify the correct chronological sequence of publication of the 4 parts of the 4 quartets. Number 1, Burnt Norton, The Dry Salvage, East Coker, Little Gidding. Number 2, Burnt Norton, Little Gidding, The Dry Salvages, East Coker. Number 3, Burnt Norton, East Coker, The Dry Salvages, Little Gidding. Number 4, Little Gidding, Burnt Norton, The Dry Salvages, East Coker. And the correct option is number 3, Burnt Norton, East Coker, The Dry Salvages, Little Gidding. 65, which of the following is not true of the novels of Charles Dickens? Number 1, they deal with the problems of the discontent of an urban civilization. Number 2, the plots are strikingly tight-knit. Number 3, they share a sense of fun and determining optimism. Number 4, they incorporate elements of popular contemporary culture. And the correct option is number 2, the plots are strikingly tight and neat. 66, published in 1604, the first monolingual English dictionary was number 1, Nathaniel Bailey's Universal Etymological Dictionary of English Language. Number 2, Samuel Johnson's Dictionary of the English Language. Number 3, Robert Corday's Table Alphabetical. Number 4, Thomas Blount's Glossographia. And the correct option is number 3, Robert Corday's Table Alphabetical. 67, which of the following statements best describe the narrative perspective employed in Thomas More's Utopia? Number 1, first person narration by Raphael Haidlody. Number 2, third person narration by a narrator named Thomas More. Number 3, first person narration by a narrator named Thomas More. Number 4, third person narrator by Raphael Haidlody. And the correct code is number 1, first and third. Number 2, second and fourth. Number 3, second and third. And number 4, first and second. And the correct code is number 1, the first and third. 68, in the opening pages of the Thomas Mann's novels, we can see space itself becoming a form of time. Space, like time, engenders forgetfulness, but it does so by setting us bodily free from our surroundings and giving us back our primitive unattached state. Which is the novel? Number 1, Dr. Faustus. Number 2, Death in Venice. Number 3, The Confessions of Felix Krull. And number 4, The Magic Mountain. And the correct option is number 4, The Magic Mountain. 69, match the lines with the titles of the poems. Number 1, The Boa Constrictor's Coil is a fossil. A, Thrushes. Number 2, My Manners Are Tearing Off Head, The Allotment of Death. B, The Jaguar. Number 3, More Coiled Steel Than Living. C, Relic. And number 4, Time in the Sea Eats Its Tail. And D, Hawk Roosting. And here we have codes. You can see here, number 1, first is A, second is D, third is A, and fourth is C. Number 2, first is B, second is D, third is A, and fourth is C. Number 3, first is C, second is D, third is B, and fourth is A. And the last, First is D, second is B, third is C, and fourth is A. And the correct option is number 2. First is B. Here you see this is the first is B, second is D. Here you have second and it is for D. Then you have third A, here third A, C. Then you have fourth for C. Here you can see. So in this way you can match the pairs. 70. Which one of the Joseph Conrad's novels expresses the contrast between the solidarity of shipboard ship life and the profound underlying loneliness of existence? Thus, here we have the statement, loneliness impenetrable and transparent, elusive and everlasting, that surrounds, envelopes, clothes every human soul from the cradle to the grave and perhaps beyond. And options we have, number 1, The Heart of Darkness, number 2, The Nigger of the Narcissus, number 3, Lord Jim, and number 4, Nostromo. Actually these lines are not from any of these novels or any of these works. If you find, you will see that actually these lines are from the novel called An Outcast of the Island. This is a wrong question, but the students have got marks of this question. So there is no option from which this statement is asked, and here the correct option is An Outcast of the Island. Question number 71. John Dryden's two philosophico-religious poems are, number 1, Absalom and Achitophel, number 2, A Layman's Faith, number 3, Annus Mirabilis, number 4, The Hind and the Panther. And the correct code here we have number 1, first and second, 2, third and first, 3, second and third, and 4th, second and 4th. And the correct option is number 4, second and 4th. 72. Now there are questions 72 to 75 based on the poem called Stray Cats. I will read this poem and then we will understand the questions asked. They are not exactly homeless. They are dissidents who have lost their faith in furnished interiors, morning walks, the cake and the cutlery. When you have 9 lives to live, you learn to take things in your stride. You learn to stretch your body at full length and yawn at domestic fictions. And for this reason, you figure in horror films in the mandatory moment between the flash of lightning and the appearance of the ghost. The light is darkish blue and you see yourself in the iris of the burning eye. The horror is in the seeing. What you see is altered by the act of seeing. The mystery does not stop there. The seer is in turn altered by what he sees. Having known this, stray cats jump from roof to roof. They monitor the world from treetops and hold their weekly meetings in the graveyard like wandering mendicants. And when they walk out of the mirror of the sun and cross the crowded road in a flash for a shining moment, they lurk in the light like a giant shadow of doubt, ill omens to those who cannot see beyond what they see. And the questions based, here we have question number 72. The poem constructs its account of stray cats by way of a contrast with, number 1, wild cats, number 2, ominous cats, number 3, domestic cats, and number 4, mysterious cats. And the correct option is number 3, domestic cats. It is in opposition to the domestic cat. 73. In the overall context, what do furnished interiors, morning walk, the cake and the cutlery represent? Number 1, ordinary life, number 2, domestic fictions, number 3, a giant shadow of doubt, and number 4, creaturely comfort. And the correct option is number 2, domestic fictions. 74. The last two lines suggest that cats crossing the crowded road, number 1, is an unexceptionable superstition, number 2, is not necessarily the ill omen it is held out to be, number 3, is an example of human obsession, and number 4, is indicative of the homelessness of stray cat. And the correct option is number 2, is not necessarily the ill omen it is held out to be. And the last question of this series, 75. From among the following, select 2 words that help accentuate the enigmatic character of stray cats. Number 1, doubt, number 2, mandatory, number 3, faith, number 4, mystery. And the right combination here we have number 1, first and second, 2, first and fourth, 3, second and fourth, and 4, third and fourth. And the correct code is number 2, first and fourth. So all these are the questions which we have covered 25 questions. Now you can calculate your score and you can have how many questions you solved correctly. So dear students, this is all about this video. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you very much.